us on. This is your weekly live talk show where community and support come together. With rotating hosts, expert guests, and meaningful conversations, we're here to guide you through the highs and the lows of infertility. Whether you're searching for answers, seeking advice, or just looking for a special place to belong, Fertility Village is your space to connect, learn, and grow. Because it really does take a village, and we are here for you every step of the way. Thanks for joining. Welcome to Fertility Village. This is your weekly live talk show where community and support come together. With rotating hosts, expert. Hello, we are here.
Yay!
Oh my goodness. Okay, so it's a snowstorm. I don't know about where you are, Renee.
Always snowing where I am.
Always snowing. Literally like 12 months a year. So I'm just a little nervous. Things are a little glitchy, but we're going to get through this. It's going to be fine. So hello, everybody out there. If you're tuning in to Fertility Village Live tonight, I'm here. It's Erin with Renee. Hi, Renee. Welcome to Fertility Village Live.
Hi. It's so surreal to finally be here, Erin.
I know. It's been a long time coming. We've talked about having you on forever.
Yeah, it's literally years ago. We said, we got to do this. Oh, yeah. I'm so glad we're finally here.
I know. And you've been through so much since then. And we've both been through a lot. There's like Oasis has been through a lot. You have been through a lot. The whole fertility community is going through a lot. There's like so much change happening at the moment. So I'm excited to talk to you tonight about all the things. We want to hear your story. We want you to tell your whole story, not the 5-minute version. We want the whole thing. And then I want to hear about the work that you do with Conceivable Dreams and your advocacy and all of that good stuff.
Love it. I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. I am going to just quickly say, if you're watching from we're tonight, we're on Renee's The Baby Plan Instagram. It looks like it might have gone down, but that's okay. We can always we can try and get it back up and going, but come join us over at Oasis or go tune in at the Oasis YouTube channel and watch us there, or you can watch this later too. But we'd love to see you live. It's always nice to have people tuning in real time. So yeah, okay, well, let's get right into it. So for anybody meeting you for the first time tonight, can you take us back to the very, very beginning? When did your fertility journey start, and what, how did you get, like, just start there. How did it start?
Yeah, of course. And first I should say I'm used to things going not to plan. So this doesn't faze me at all, the technical glitches tonight.
Exactly.
But yeah, so back to the start. It was 7 years ago. We started talking about having a baby. We had waited a really long time for the right time, as you know, so many of us do, being so careful not to get pregnant. We wanted my husband to have his business stable, have savings, the house was right, and then it didn't work. And it was month after month. I remember staring every time at the pregnancy test, just seeing one line, and I was in complete shock. I never thought that this would happen to us. I was completely healthy. No one in my family had ever struggled with infertility. I ovulated regularly every month. I thought for sure we would get pregnant right away.
Yeah.
I mean, how could something be wrong without any other sign or symptom?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was totally shocking. I just kept being convinced like next month's the month, that it never was. And after 6 months, I remember feeling like, wow, I don't know how people do this for years. This is already incredibly hard.
Mm-hmm.
I already felt like I was like at the pit of despair, and I don't feel any shade when people tell me like, oh, I tried for 4 months. It was really hard. I know what you went through, because I remember feeling that way. It really is hard a few months in. Let's give ourselves some credit for that time. But yeah, I went to my doctor. I said, this just isn't working. And I'm like really careful. And with my ovulation tests, I have a feeling it's not ever going to work for us. And she said, well, you have to try for a year before I can get you any help. It's very frustrating. It's one of the first frustrating parts of the process was that constant need to wait and wait and wait. And when we finally got that referral 6 months later, because it didn't work for us, we had to wait another 6 months for our first appointment with the fertility clinic. So I knew 6 months in I wanted help, and now I'm essentially a year and a half in, and finally I get my day one, and it's time to call the fertility clinic. And I call them, and the receptionist says, oh, that's too bad, because it's Easter weekend and we're closed for Easter weekend. So just call us next month. We'll do it next month. Like it wasn't a big deal, because she probably makes this call all the time. So she's, desensitized to it. But this was my first time hearing this. And I had no idea that the fertility clinic would be closed weekend and stat holidays. There are no other fertility clinics in Northern Ontario other than the one in my hometown of Sudbury. There's nowhere else to go. And so I had to wait another month. And I remember there was baby showers that month. Some of my very best friends were celebrating their pregnancies, and I was so happy for everyone. But it was like this clock was ticking away behind me, and every day felt like forever, carrying this invisible grief. But yeah, I hung up the phone. I remember sobbing for probably about an hour straight. And I thought that would be my biggest challenge as a Northern Ontario fertility patient. I had no idea what was coming after that.
Yeah. Yeah. It is wild what we are capable of enduring,
It is. And, it was just the other night at the Oasis fertility group. I was just reflecting on my own journey and remembering being like at the start, going through these moments. And it still tears me up to remember how I felt. Like even that relatively early in my fertility journey, I hoped I was near the end, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
So anyways, finally we got into the fertility clinic. We got our results, and I was convinced that I was not going to be the problem, because at this point, over a year and a half in, I read all the fertility books. I was on the egg quality diet. I was on hundreds of dollars of supplements a month. I didn't have wine. I never smoked. I was super healthy, eating great. I was tracking my macros, doing everything I possibly could. There's just no way it could be me. I ovulate every month like clockwork. And so imagine my surprise when the nurse says, Renee, you have severe diminished ovarian reserve. It's one of the lowest numbers I've ever seen in a 32-year-old. You can try fertility treatment, but it's unlikely it's ever going to work for you.
Wow.
Yeah. And then proceeded to tell me that my husband's sperm was above average.
Like, above average.
Great news. That's fantastic. Yeah. And honestly, it was one of the biggest, like to this day, the biggest shocks of my life, because I was not mentally prepared for that at all. I did not expect that. One, that it was going to be me was already like a big surprise and shock, but two, that we were going to get such devastating news. It wasn't just, oh yeah, you have a little bit of an issue. We're going to figure it out. We're going to try some things. I remember calling my insurance the day before the call to find out if I'd be covered if I had to spend a few $100s on fertility medication in this process.
Right.
And I remember tears just pouring down my face like a river. But I remember seeing my face on the video call because it was in COVID. It was a video. And I remember seeing my face, and it was completely emotionless. It was just a complete straight face with just tears pouring. It was so devastating. And the only question that I was able to get out was, how much does IVF cost? Because I hadn't researched that at all. I researched all the other things that I thought we were going to do.
Right.
She said $30,000, and everything shifted.
Yeah.
It wasn't just we were about to get help. It wasn't, this is taking us a step closer to our goal. It was all of a sudden, in one moment, everything changed, that I suddenly came to terms with, this might not happen for us.
Yeah.
And that's how we entered the world of fertility treatment.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how did you feel at the beginning with the experience in the system? Did you know you had choice at that point in time, or did you know that you could get a second opinion, or, where were you at with, the things that we know now compared to the things that we knew at the early stages, of our journeys, where did you sort of fall in line in that regard?
Yeah, I would say I was very naive at this point. I had, done some research online, but I didn't know that you could, for example, do multiple consults with fertility clinics and decide which one you were going to go with. I didn't know that they all have different approaches and strengths. I didn't know at the time how important it was for me personally to have a strong connection with my doctor, especially going into, a situation where I just wanted no regrets if it didn't work out how I was hoping it would in the end, which was a realistic possibility for us.
Yeah.
And navigating the system as a fertility patient was exhausting. And already the frustration was starting to build up that would later result in me having a passion for fertility advocacy as well. Mm-hmm. But this is still very early in my journey, right? So we've just been diagnosed. We did an IUI, and then we moved to IVF. That first IVF cycle, I thought, oh, they're wrong. I'm gonna have tons of eggs. No, they weren't wrong. I had a miracle cycle that month. Actually, I had 10 antral follicles, whereas previously I had 2 or 6, 2, 3, 4, 6. So this was amazing, golden month. And I thought, they're gonna be wrong. It's gonna work. We got 5 eggs, only 4 were mature, only 1 fertilized. So we had 1 day 3 embryo, froze it, transferred it, and we actually got pregnant that first IVF cycle.
Really?
Which is
I don't think I knew that part of the story.
Extremely rare. Yeah, extremely unusual for someone with my kind of numbers to have that happen. And I thought, okay, well, I've never been pregnant before, so this is it. It's going to work. But we went in for our first ultrasound, and there was nothing, just a sac. Went in again for confirmation ultrasound, and I was diagnosed with a blighted ovum. My body thought it was pregnant, but there was no embryo growing. And it was devastating. I actually ended up having to go to the ER. It was an awful miscarriage. And we didn't know where to go after that because we only had 1 fertilized egg, and we spent $30,000 on that cycle. So do we really want to do that again? And was that just the one lucky egg? And then the other part of it was, that was my golden month, right? My best ever antral follicle number. But we took a few months to heal and regroup, and then decided to do a second IVF cycle, the same clinic, doled out the same amount of money. Actually, it was a little more because we ended up having to stim a bit longer. So it was more money in medication. And that time, even worse results. We only got 2 eggs and none of them fertilized.
Wow.
And there's a video of me on my Instagram account where you could see myself recording myself right after I got the call with the bad news. And I've debated taking it down a few times. It's hard to watch still today. But that's the reality of IVF. So I've left it there. But yeah, it was quite devastating. We ended up switching clinics after that and moving to Markham Fertility Center. I actually found Dr. Garcia through Instagram, and we chatted on there and connected. I really wanted to try a lower dose IVF cycle, and that was something that Dr. Garcia was advocating for. So yeah, I made the switch, and IVF number 3 onwards was with Markham Fertility Center. I
Okay.
had a fantastic experience there. In my 3rd IVF cycle, we again got really lucky and made an embryo, and again had another miscarriage. So now we have this other problem, right? Not only are we not making embryos often, we're also losing them for unexplained reasons. So it just felt like every step of the way it was doomed to fail. We had been told by our first reproductive endocrinologist to walk away, that it would never work for us. And she actually cut us off, said that she could not, in good strong conscience, allow us to do more IVF.
Wow.
But yeah, Markham said, you know what, it's your money. If you want to keep going, you want to try some different things, we're here for you. Let's go. So yeah, IVF number 4 was our funded cycle. So at the time in Ontario, the wait for funded cycle was pretty much 18 months everywhere. And it still is at a lot of places even today, or longer. So yeah, it's 18 months later, we finally get the call for our funded cycle. And that cycle, we made no embryos, which was awful, because that's the only transfers they'll cover is for the embryos you make from your funded cycle.
Wow.
Yeah.
The universe is so cruel sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And then IVF number 5, we made 2 embryos. For the first time, sent them for PGTA testing and found out that one of them was fully chromosomally abnormal, incompatible with life. And then the other one was chromosomally normal. So we froze that one, debated what to do, and then decided that since in IVF 5, we made 2 embryos, maybe we figured something out. Let's try that again. We tried that same protocol, that same low dose protocol. And IVF 6 was looking really great, but for some reason my body decided to ovulate before retrieval, and we lost all the eggs.
That is crazy. How does that happen? Do you have any explanation for that?
I actually do have a suspicion, and I don't know for sure, but when I was giving myself my Cetrotide, which is the drug that prevents you from ovulating before your IVF cycle, it's just super fluky, because I've given myself hundreds of needles and this has never happened. But that one time, that last one I was giving myself before the egg retrieval, it's the most important time to get that dose in you.
Mm-hmm.
I hit some kind of just fluky artery in my stomach, or vein, I should say, and blood started squirting everywhere. And I was in my car driving back from Markham, pulled over on the side of the road. It was a disaster. And at this point, I can't turn around. There's, by the time I get there, they're closed if they're not already. I'm already 3 hours away. So anyway, I didn't even mention it to the clinic, and I just hoped enough of the drug stayed inside me. But in hindsight afterwards, I think that that's what contributed to it. And I like to tell this story because, one, if it happens to someone, they should know, always call on call at your clinic, whenever you have a medical question. And I should have done that. And maybe they could have found me some drugs somewhere. But 2, because so many people are afraid of ovulating before retrieval, it is extremely rare. And so I like to say that I think I have a reason for it. It wasn't just something random that can just happen to everybody. It's actually extremely rare. So yeah, IVF 6, we ovulated before retrieval. And that was after IVF 2, which was getting nothing, was devastating. And my 2 miscarriages. Now to have this happen, a new problem that we had to overcome now was that we could do it all and not end up with any, even go through the retrieval, not even get anything. It was just, oh my goodness. So we walked away from IVF. We said, you know what, we have the one normal embryo frozen. I think we're done. I don't think we can justify doing this anymore, financially, mentally, from a work perspective. And then we'll talk too later about the unique challenges in Northern Ontario, but it was just too much. Honestly, mentally, I was done. And so we decided we were walking away. And I remember posting on my Instagram account a picture of me with a sign that said, like, we quit IVF, with a big smile on my face. And it went viral. Like, most of my followers found me from that post.
Wow.
Because I was just so relieved to be done, to be out of it.
Yes. Oh, there's something about that.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was obviously a little easier because we still had that embryo there. You can always change your mind. But yeah, it just felt like really good. Like, I don't have to do the supplements. I don't have to like check for ovulation. I don't have to do any more blood work and ultrasounds and check the portal and transfer money out of my savings and remortgage my house. Like, it's done. I can finally use a vacation day for myself and not for medical treatment.
And Renee, what was the period of time, like from started trying, or even like that 1 year mark to that 6th cycle?
That was about 4.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you started driving to Markham for all of those cycles after at the 3rd cycle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then so Markham, just because geographically, if you're listening to me, you might not understand where I am. I live in Sudbury, which is in Northern Ontario, about 4 hours north of Toronto. So about 4.5-hour drive to Markham. And that is very challenging because, as most people listening to us now will know, when you do fertility treatment, you need to be checked sometimes every 2 days. Sometimes I had days back to back of checks. And I did this for many, many months in a row for many years, even months where we didn't do an IVF cycle. We did attempts at IVF that didn't make it to retrieval, or we did IUIs, or we did medicated cycle. There was actually only 1 month that we took a complete break from treatment in all that time since that first IUI. So it was a lot. And for me, that meant waking up at 3 a.m. and then getting my car. It's pitch black out. And I remember making myself a coffee and picking an audiobook the night before that I'd listened to. And I would do this drive to Markham, pitch black, dark. The highway's completely bare. There's no lights on this highway either. So it is very exhausting. There's like deer and moose. You have to really pay attention. There's also really dangerous stretches of road, like in snowstorms. You're going through like a snow belt, and you can have a complete whiteout where you can't see a foot in front of your car on the highway. And you're worrying not only about people in front of you, but people behind you that can't even see your car. So it was terrifying. And knowing, sometimes I felt unsafe. And I remember white knuckling and saying, well, I can't turn around. We're 10 grand in on a cycle. Like, I have no choice. I got to keep going. I need to get this ultrasound. It was completely terrifying. And then, finally at 8 a.m., I arrive there, do my ultrasound and blood work for, the 20 minutes that takes, meet with the nurse, get any medication I need, and then back in the car, drive back to Sudbury, the 4 hours back. And I typically be home around like 3-4 o'clock on a good day where the weather's good and there's no construction. And I got through the fertility clinic quickly. Sometimes there was longer waits and pauses and accidents and road closures and things to work around. And then I would go to work the next day, normal day at work, pretend I'm not exhausted and hardly slept the night before, and then take the next day off to do the drive again because I have to go every 2 days. So it was exhausting doing this. Like, it was mentally just on top of everything else. It was another layer of exhaustion.
Yeah.
And it was definitely the hardest thing that I've ever went through in my life. And I think one of the things that made it harder is that people don't really understand fertility treatment and infertility. And it's not so much that it's hard to talk about because I'm a pretty open person. I talk about these things all the time. It's that people don't know what to say. And sometimes they'll say things from a great place. They really mean it from a good place, but it's a very unhelpful comment, like the just relax. We've all heard that hundreds of times. And unfortunately, it's completely useless advice that doesn't provide any benefit other than frustrating the person going through fertility treatment.
Totally.
So, yeah.
How often do we hear that in our groups? Like, from the other women that are in it, in the thick of it, just going like, oh yes, my auntie or my sister was like, well, if you go on vacation or whatever.
Oh yeah, it happened to this hairdresser's friend. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That is like all of it. Like your story has always been mind blowing to me. And we met like when we were doing the advocacy work at Queen's Park, and you were talking about it then, and you were probably like, I want to say maybe 2 years in or 3 years in at that point. And I remember thinking like, holy smokes, this girl, like I thought I couldn't survive my journey. Like, how did you, like, it's unbelievable, like the resilience and just like the determination that you possess. So, okay, I want to hear about cycle 7. So let's tell the rest.
Cycle, the cycle that wasn't really supposed to be.
Yeah, got really crazy.
Oh goodness. So yeah, after IVF 6, we take this break, we quit IVF, we're done. And we did a lot of soul searching and preparing for like what would happen if it worked or didn't work. Like at this point, we were leaning towards there's a higher chance it won't work because we've already transferred 2 embryos and lost them. But this was our first time testing an embryo. We knew for sure it was PGT normal. So there was that hope there too. And I ended up doing surgery, did a laparoscopy. I did a whole bunch of testing with Markham Fertility Center. And we ended up all agreeing on a protocol for this last embryo transfer. And this was like our last chance at parenthood. And I had hoped that we would come to an agreement on a backup plan. Like if it wouldn't work, then we would do egg donation or embryo donation or adoption, like so many options. And we couldn't come to an agreement. Like we could not imagine ourselves in that boat until we knew for sure that we were in it. And we weren't there yet, still had this embryo. So having to come to terms with going in without a backup plan was also hard. But a year later, we felt like we were ready. And my lining always was stubborn. So we wanted to give it the best possible chance, thickest lining we could. And the only time my lining ever got over 7 millimeters was during my IVF cycles. Right. So Dr. Garcia suggested, you know what? Let's put you on low dose IVF stems. Let's do 150 of Gonal-F. That was actually pretty close to the dose I was for my mini IVF. We just had like 75 of Menopur and some letrozole in there. Yeah. And we did that. And my lining grew nice and thick. It was 8 millimeters at one of the measurements, which was one of my highest ever. Everything was lining up great. And another part of IVF 7 that's really interesting is that CBC, the national, picked up my story and decided that they wanted to raise more awareness of the status of fertility care in Canada. And so they actually filmed me live during this cycle. And so if you search my name on YouTube, Renee Higgins, CBC The National, you can actually watch the segment and you could see me driving to Toronto in the car through a snowstorm. There's literally like somebody recording us on video in the back seat and the reporter in the passenger seat. We're white knuckling through this snowstorm. And I was like, oh, this is not even a bad one. Yeah. It was crazy that they were following me because of what ended up happening in this cycle. So, we're there on this low dose gonal. Everything's looking great. My lining's growing. And then all of a sudden at my scans, I'm also noticing my follicles are growing. And the highest amount of follicles I ever had growing in I probably had like 12 attempts at IVF in total, just only like those first 6 made it to retrieval that we've talked about. This time there was like 6, 7 follicles growing. And I normally only had 3 or 4. So this was very surprising to me that years after my first IVF, I'm having better results. Especially, I remember back to that first call where I was told like, your window is closing or already closed. Like it's never going to work. You probably won't even grow eggs for fertility treatment. And I have all these follicles sitting there. But my husband and I have just spent a year coming to terms of being done IVF. And so there's absolutely no way that I can bring up to him that I'm having these second thoughts, right? Right. But then every scan gets better and better. Like not only are all these follicles there, but they're all growing the same size. It's my first time not having a lead follicle. And so I'm just like struggling every time I get these results and not talk about it with my husband. And then finally, you know, after one of the results, like right near the end, like we're probably like 3 days from triggering for the transfer of our last embryo, my husband sits me down and he's like, look, I don't know how to bring this up to you, but I feel like we should probably do a retrieval. I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting because I was going to mention the same thing to you.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to talk about it. So we're just like, okay, I guess we're going to do one more. And it really seemed like we were able to do like 3 IVFs in one because we were getting so many eggs in that target range at the same time, like 16 to 20 millimeter follicles. We had a few in that range, which had never happened. But then I wasn't sure if I could even convert it to a retrieval. I wasn't sure if the lab had room. I emailed my doctor. She replies back, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought this up because I was thinking it the whole time, but I couldn't tell you to go for it because you spent all this time getting ready for like this one last transfer and that you were done IVF and I was posting all over my feed about it. Yeah. And so, I mean, it was just a weird situation. And you could see my reaction during the CBC, the national segment, when they're like getting this result. So, we decided to do the retrieval. I wake up, Dr. Garcia's there, and she says, Renee, we got 6 eggs. What?
Yeah.
How did you get 6 eggs? Are you sure they're mine? Like, what? Yeah. Mind blowing. And that was really great news because in IVF 6, I ovulated before retrieval. So I was fully expecting her to just walk in and be like, nothing, sorry, we wasted our time here. So unreal. Yeah. And so now the other thing that we were able to do, because I was on such a low dose, my estrogen level was so low, we were still planning to do the transfer. So the transfer normally is 5 days after you ovulate. And so after the retrieval, we would wait 5 days to transfer our 5-day embryo. And then in those 5 days leading up to our transfer, we're now also getting these calls for the updates from our eggs from IVF 7. Right. So one day after retrieval, they call us and they're like, oh my gosh, you got 5 eggs fertilized. 5 out of 6 eggs fertilized. That is unreal. Our fertilization rate was like some cycles we had like 1 in 4 or 0 in 3 fertilized. That was just, again, I was like, can you check my name? Like, I couldn't believe it. What is happening here? And then the day 3 call, we have 5 day 3 embryos. Oh my goodness.
Crazy.
And then day 5 call. So day 5 is transfer day. So I'm like getting ready to go in for the transfer. And then we get the call from Dr. Garcia and she's like, oh man, like you have 2 really good embryos here. I don't know whether we should transfer one of these untested or thaw your frozen one and transfer that one. And I couldn't make that decision. So I left it in her hands and she decided we would transfer the frozen one since it was genetically tested. And that the rest of these, if they made it to blast, would be frozen and tested. So I knew at that point that I probably was going to be getting 2 embryos from this cycle. After the transfer, I got the official call from embryology. And they said, you have 2 really good ones frozen. And it looks like you're going to get 2 more, like potentially tomorrow. They just need a little more time. And that was pretty common for me. Like the 1 embryo that we had that was normal was actually a day 6 embryo as well. Okay. So anyways, that transferred the embryo and now we're in the 2-week wait for that embryo. And then I get the final call from embryology and they tell us that 5 embryos were tested and frozen. So we got 6 eggs, 5 of them fertilized, 5 of them made day 3 embryos, 5 of them ended up making blast and being sent like good enough quality to send for testing.
It's mind-boggling because for somebody that doesn't have DOR, those are epic results.
Right.
Like, those don't have DOR. We have full male factor. So I'm just like a normal 36-year-old woman and 37 when I did my IVF and I didn't have results that, like, it's crazy. It's so crazy.
I honestly still have a hard time believing that it happened. Like, I only made 4 embryos total in all 6 of my IVF cycles combined.
Yeah.
And then my 7th one, I suddenly make 5. It was crazy. And I wish that the crazy lucky cycle could end there, because I also sometimes feel like it's hurtful to hear that these crazy stories happen to some people when you're going through it all.
Yeah.
But it actually has an even crazier ending. So we sent these all for testing. All of them came back as usable embryos. One of them was a low-level segmental mosaic, but almost the same success rates as a full euploid embryo. So all 5 of them are frozen, waiting for us. And we're waiting to find out if we're pregnant with the embryo that we've just transferred.
Right.
Suddenly, I couldn't believe the position that we were in.
Yeah.
After all these years, $150,000, like 50 drives back and forth to Toronto, years of all my vacation, hundreds of needles, 2 miscarriages. It was just an unreal position to be in. We were so very lucky. And I hope that there's someone out there hearing this story that this can give them a little bit of hope. And I know it's hard to hear that, but when I was going through it, these were the kinds of stories, like, if you want to keep going, search for the stories that, had the low chance of success and were able to get it in the end. And if you're looking to move on from fertility treatment, then search for the stories where people moved on and ended up finding success in different ways. So success can look like many different things. And I think that's something that's important to remember too. But yeah, so
sorry, my internet dropped out for a second. I lost you, but
I'm just glad it's you, not me.
I know. We are getting like a bad snowstorm, and my partner texted me before. No. He's like, the internet's really patchy. I hope it's okay. So anyways, for some reason I have just like, my internet's perfect until I have to go live, and then I have these issues.
Oh, but classic. Yeah.
You stayed on. I have like my Instagram going on this screen, and it's perfect. We're 15 seconds behind over there, but it's perfect. You're going great. We've got people watching. Hello, everybody. We're back. This was the craziest IVF story I think maybe I've ever heard. And I've heard it before, and I followed you. Like, I was with you. Yeah. I would like wait with my phone for the updates, because I was just like desperate to know like what is happening next, Renee. Like, I was on the edge of my seat literally for like that whole 2 weeks with you. I think probably 10,000 people were,
Oh goodness. Well, especially because CBC The National was covering it. And so they went to air it 2 weeks later. And it was crazy because like 2 days before they aired it, I posted on my Instagram the results of our transfer. And it turned out that we got very lucky. We were pregnant from that embryo. So this was our 3rd pregnancy now. And I posted the video of myself with the positive test. And so, they called me and they were like, hey, just giving you a heads up. We decided that we're going to air the video you just posted with your pregnancy test. Well, I had to rush and tell all my family I was pregnant, because so many of them didn't know that I had this Instagram account that was about to blow up on like national news.
Right.
And I had a bunch of friends texting me like, oh, I just saw you on CBC The National. Congratulations. I'm like, oh yeah, it's been 48 hours. Like, it's just super early. I don't even like believe it yet, but thanks. It was just super crazy. And then this pregnancy was finally the one where we were able to get our live birth. And so I am now a mom to a 16-month-old. Jackson is the light of my life. And when he wakes up in the middle of the night, especially around 3 a.m., I just get that reminder. I'm so lucky to be here. I'm so glad that this happened. And I remember all the people who are still in the thick of it, the people who are driving to their early morning appointments, taking that time off work, whether you're in Northern Ontario or not. This is incredibly difficult. And, there's some people that can't take time off work as easily, can't like work remotely. There's just so many different challenges to fertility treatment. And Jackson was my inspiration to really ramp up the advocacy and to make it so that money and where you live doesn't decide who gets to have the chance at fertility treatment. We really need to advocate for more equitable access to care. Fertility treatment needs to be treated as healthcare treatment. It blows my mind that it is like a whole separate beast, because in many other countries it's not. The World Health Organization recognizes infertility as a disease, yet in Canada we treat it differently than other diseases. And I totally get the argument that IUI and IVF are elective treatments, but the reality is that our healthcare system does cover elective treatments. We don't say you can only get one knee replacement per life. You know, we cover whatever it takes to make people healthy. And as much as, you know, I think that there are wonderful alternative options out there, they're not always accessible or available to everyone. I was told, for example, that adoption would be an 8-year wait for a child under 5 in Canada, and that there was also no guarantee that we would ever be able to adopt. And at this point, we were already like 5 years into infertility. So to start another 8-year maybe just wasn't realistic for us. So I don't feel that there are alternatives. And definitely a strong advocate for equal access to care. And I kind of mentioned a little bit in this live, and I know a lot of people following may already know that I have an Instagram account, but maybe I should back up and explain how that came to be.
Yes, I would love to hear how the baby plan came to be. And I also, like, just like on cycle 7, I want to know too, before we go back to the Instagram, what do you think was the secret sauce? Like, do you have like a gut feeling? Does Dr. Garcia have like an idea? Was there a change in protocol? Was it your mindset? Like, I hate to think that like mindset couldn't ever have that much impact, and that the fact that you like gave up and that, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's so, I have so many thoughts, but I'm just curious what your gut is telling you and like what you think, or is it just literally nothing and everything and magic?
I have been asked this question so many times, and I wish that I knew what was different that cycle, but I can definitely tell you what it wasn't. And it definitely was not that I just relaxed. Just to clarify, this was the most stress I have ever been under in my entire life.
Yeah, that
like
last transfer.
$50,000 of savings down to this one chance. And, you know, very sadly, my cat of 15 years that I was just, you know, she was just so, I was close to her. She was my baby, because I didn't have one and I wanted one. And I had to put her down weeks before the transfer, and it was completely devastating. And I almost moved that cycle over how devastated I was, because I was worried I was not in the right mindset and state of mind. But we ended up deciding to go for it because we had already waited this long, and I felt like I was, you know, just, I needed to do it. I couldn't like wait any longer, was not going to make it easier. And so, yeah, I definitely was not relaxed. I actually would say there were many other cycles where I was way more relaxed and chill that I had horrible results in. So if anything, I think like the opposite for me, like stress actually helped me. But obviously that doesn't make sense medically. So yeah, I think it was complete luck. And I think that that is very frustrating for people to hear, that there's not something that you can individually do. But I also hope it's reassuring, because I believe there's nothing that an individual person can do to cause their infertility, or for something to be successful or not successful. And I also think that, you know, there are these success stories out there. And if you speak to your doctor, they'll have many to share with you as well, of similar stories to mine. And you just never know. So if somebody wants to keep going, like I said, I think these stories are great to latch onto when you're in that mindset that, you know, you want to see it through, you're going to keep going. You know, you might as well follow the people who had it end up where you want to be, because you can always grieve if it doesn't work later. You know, you don't need to pre-grieve. There's plenty of time to grieve after if it doesn't work. that was what helped me get through the cycles, when I was in it. And I honestly think it was just complete luck. All those follicles happening to be the same size in that target range at the same time was something that only happened that one time for me.
Crazily enough, so my support group, like there was a bunch of women in it that were following you along during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the women watched your story, saw your success, had the same doctor, and she had pretty much like walked away and given up. And she's like, I think I'm going to be childless. And then she saw your story and she was like, this is so inspiring. Like, I think I can do it one more time. And I just saw her, she followed your protocol, and I saw her baby turned 1 yesterday.
Oh my God, I have tears in my eyes.
Yeah, I know. And she was like an old friend of mine. And I just like, it was just the most amazing thing, like to see that ripple impact of like, you and like your doctor, like all of the pieces of the puzzle, like impacting somebody else's life. And now there's another baby. And I just, you guys have to meet because that would be so cool.
Oh my God, I'd love to. Yeah. And I really have to give a shout out to Dr. Garcia, because I know without a doubt we would not be here if it was not for her. Mm-hmm. Like the relationship that we had with her was everything that I needed, from, moving forward with these low chances to being the person, like when I walked away, having the confidence that, we tried it all to get to this point and I'm ready to move on, whatever that means for me. Like those were things that I never would have found that peace if I hadn't found Dr. Garcia. I think it's really important to find a clinic and a doctor that, like no matter what, even if it doesn't work, that you won't have regrets, because it's hard. It's so hard switching clinics, but I did it. And I'm so glad that I did. Even if things hadn't worked, it would have allowed me to get that peace at the end that I needed at the time. So Dr. Garcia was incredible. She let us try crazy things, even when she probably thought that I was ridiculous for wanting to try. Like, for example, my funded cycle, I really wanted to go back high dose. My first clinic was really an advocate for high dose. I wanted the max dose of drugs. For sure, it's going to work. The other 2 cycles were fluky. And that was an awful choice. That was a terrible cycle. And then we went back to her protocol that had worked in IVF3. And then IVF5 was the time that we made Jackson. And so if she hadn't convinced me, like more is not better, which is so hard for us because we're just so conditioned that more is better in many other parts of our lives. But less meds really can give better results. And, of all my IVF cycles, the one with the lowest doses of drugs was the one that I had the best results. And huge advocate for mini IVF and finding that doctor that is able to listen and hear you out and let you try different things. But she's just a wonderful human. And we actually still talk today. Yeah. She came to visit Sudbury for another reason, and I was able to get Jackson to meet her and get some pictures with her, which was neat. And we volunteered together with Conceivable Dreams, which is the nonprofit fertility patient advocacy group in Ontario.
Yes, I want to hear about the work with Conceivable Dreams and you, because I think you guys do amazing work. But I cut you off when you were going to tell us about the Instagram story. So let's go there and then we'll circle back. We have time. We're good.
Yeah, we have time. I'll kind of make it quick though, this one. So basically I started my Instagram account. If you go all the way to my first post, which I don't know, that was like 5 years ago now, maybe. I was going through my first miscarriage. I had just found out like it's probably not viable, and I wasn't ready. I was like, oh no, I'm going to be the 1%. It's going to be fine. I was not ready to accept it, but I knew it was probably going to happen. And I was trying to connect with other people who had been through this. And at this point in my life also, I thought fertility treatment was a rare thing that people went through because no one talks about it. I don't know anybody who's ever been through infertility. I don't know anybody who's ever been through IVF. And then all of a sudden I started talking about it, and friends would be like, oh yeah, my son was born of IVF. Oh yeah, my daughter's born of IVF. Oh yeah, we went through infertility for 6 years. And I just never knew these things, right? Yeah. These people I've known my whole life. But anyways, so yeah, I'm trying to find that community that I didn't know was already around me, because I didn't know 1 in 6 people around me were going through fertility or had been through infertility. And I found a great community online through Instagram. At first, I was a little more anonymous. Like, I didn't want to put my last name, and I made it so my friends couldn't find me. Like, I researched all the right settings to make myself unfindable. And yeah, I started building this connection very early on. I started following Yearning for Motherhood and IVF Baby D, and still talk to these people 5-6 years later. For a long time, we spoke daily when we were all in the thick of it. And yeah, it was a wonderful community. I found so much in being able to have that. And that was one of the reasons why I really wanted to volunteer with Oasis Fertility Support Network as a group facilitator, because having that community and those people you can talk to who get it on a different level than those who haven't been through it is just so important.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, my Instagram account, I just kept posting and it just kept growing, really blew up with a few of the posts that went viral and that CBC The National story. And at one point I had a lot of followers, I don't know, like 13,000. I don't really post as much anymore. Honestly, I've been struggling with my identity on there. It doesn't feel right to be posting cute videos of my son and worry about who I'm triggering. But I do want to get back into it, posting more about tips for when you're in the thick of it, like remembering what I was going through, things I wish I had known, and really focusing on the advocacy piece as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my Instagram account at the.baby.plan. And I hope to keep it going. It's just kind of going to evolve into a new identity over time.
Yeah. And if you want to see, like, if you're watching or listening to this later and you want to, like, you can watch all the posts in real time from like all of those cycles, from cycle 7, the protocol, like you're really open about, you know, all of that. And so, yeah, I think it's cool. People can go back. It's almost like a diary you have online. You live there forever, that tells your story and shows like the miracle that, you know, your IVF story is, because it is truly, truly wild. Yeah. Amazing. So cool. Okay, let's talk about the work that you're doing with Conceivable Dreams, because I met you guys shortly after we started at Oasis and got a call from Zane, who's the, I think, acting president still.
Yes.
Yeah. And he was like, come to the Queen's Park, and you know, we're gonna speak about, you know, how important this is. We want to hear your story. So it was so cool. And that's when I met you and a bunch of other like people that are now involved in our organization. And, you know, we all kind of connected, but it's, yeah. So tell us about what you guys do.
Yeah, that was such a neat experience. I had been following Conceivable Dreams for a little while, and I noticed there was no one on the board from Northern Ontario at the time. And so I wanted to make sure that I had that representation. And I also, on the same token, really liked being able to just do media interviews on my own and tell my own story. And I wasn't sure how I would fit into the Conceivable Dreams umbrella. Like, would they let me do that? And anyways, it turns out that yes, they absolutely would. And I made some great connections on that board. Have made some good friends there. Zane and I have been together on the board now for, I want to say 2.5 years-ish.
Yeah.
And yeah, that Queen's Park Day was I don't think I was even officially on the board yet. I think I was just like on the verge of interested. And so, yeah, I drove up 3 a.m. that morning and showed up at Queen's Park. And Zane said to Minister Sylvia Jones, you got to meet Renee Higgins. She drove up 3 a.m. this morning to meet you. And I guess like, she's like, what, really? So she came to talk to me and said, tell me your story. And so I told her what it was like being a Northern Ontario patient, trying to access fertility care, and, you know, all these drives, and the one clinic in Northern Ontario cannot meet the need. And, you know, all these people are having to drive anyways. And, you know, anyways, all the challenges of it, the costs, my Northern Ontario travel grants were all denied. And it was just a very challenging situation. And she empathized with it and with other people in the room as well. Many of the MPs came through that day. or
Yeah.
MPPs, I should say. And we had many one-on-ones with them. Remember, we divided into groups, and different groups of us met with the different like MPPs. Anyway, we kind of all split up, divide and conquered, because there was so many that wanted to meet with us at the same
Yeah.
time. And we went to their offices, told our stories, and we got lots of support. And then we advocated, we had to pick like, what's our ask? We were advocating for two things. When you ask for two, you hope to get one, right? But we got really lucky and we got both in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So with Conceivable Dreams last year, after the Queen's Park event, we were able to successfully implement two changes. The first is that the Ontario Fertility Program did a top-up funding to try to reduce the amount of people who are sitting in the wait lists. That money is still being rolled out in 2026 and 2027. So really exciting that there's still more help to come to get those wait lists down, because they are still quite long at many clinics. And the second thing that we were able to successfully implement is the new fertility tax program in Ontario. So if you have to spend money out of pocket for fertility treatment for things like medication that are not covered in Ontario, or maybe you need more than one IVF cycle, because that happens to some of us, you can submit those costs on your taxes and get 25% of them back in your pocket, up to $5,000 a year. So if you spend $20,000, you get the maximum $5,000 back.
Yeah.
It's not everything, but it's something. And the rest of that money that you don't get back, you're still eligible to claim on your federal income tax as a medical expense. So there is a lot of new help from that, and really looking forward to continuing to advocate. I'm really passionate right now and focused on Northern Ontario and Ontario, because that's where I live. But I also see so much potential for Canada to have a unified fertility strategy, which most countries actually do. And I hope that that's eventually the direction that we end up going in here in Canada as well.
Yeah, I would also love to see that. And it's such a hot topic right now, like fertility treatment and infertility, like in like politically it is, like in the US, up here, like, you know, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago on the live with Carolyn Dubé from Fertility Matters. Like Mark Carney put it in his, you know, like he's going to do it. That's what he said when he was, you know, and it's not in the budget yet, but we're just waiting, you know, for something, because universal care for fertility would be very, very supportive to all of the provincial healthcare programs, but just making it more accessible. So there's some crazy stuff happening right now, I think, in the fertility space, and I'm excited. And for the North, like for the remote locations, there's some crazy technology coming out. There's some, virtual fertility clinics. There's, you know, it's getting exciting that, and it's voices like you that are getting people thinking about solutions and not problems. Like, I'm just so done with the problems. Let's focus on the solutions and fix this. Let's fix it. You know, like we have the power, you know, if we work together, we can do it. So amazing.
Completely agree. And I also want to give a shout out again to Markham Fertility Center, because they're actually one of the leaders in patient advocacy in Ontario. They don't just do the media interviews, they really do a lot of stuff behind the scenes, making real change happen. And one of the neat things that I've been able to do in partnership with Markham Fertility, and especially Mark, the managing director there, is that Markham Fertility patients can now monitor in Sudbury.
Amazing.
Still not enough access to meet the demand. We obviously need way more monitoring in Northern Ontario, and it's something we need to work on, but it's exciting to have that kind of real commitment and someone really committed to helping us solve this problem, because I can't solve it on my own. And I also had this really cool idea from someone I met on my Instagram account who lives in Jersey Islands. Anyway, they are on this island and they don't have an IVF clinic on their island. And so they have to take the ferry into the mainland for their embryo transfers and retrievals. But what they did there was they made it so that people can do their ultrasound and blood work at any clinic on the island that does that. And that is a very neat concept because we have so many ultrasound and blood work clinics across Northern Ontario. And it certainly would be it wouldn't be everybody would have an ultrasound clinic in their city, but it would make it so they have more options closer to home if they were able to go there. And so that is a model I'm really interested in exploring. And as you know, Canada is just geographically so dispersed compared to other countries. We have a very unique scenario here that particularly impacts things like fertility treatment, where you need to repeatedly get tested like every couple days. So yeah, I think so much potential and exciting change ahead for Northern Ontario and even Canada in general.
Yes, so much. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And for the record, we are huge Markham Fertility fans at Oasis. They're so supportive to all the work that we do. They sponsor the tea party that's coming up on June 7th. If you didn't know, if you're watching or listening to this, tea party's on June 7th in Toronto. And they're going to be there. And yeah, we're so excited. And we lost Renee's stream from the live. That's okay. We're wrapping up anyways. We almost made it to the end. But yeah, we're huge Markham fans, and the work that they're doing, they've brought the journal into their clinic, and they're giving it out to their patients. So yeah, we love their support so much. And thank you for supporting Oasis and being one of our volunteers and conversation starters and meeting with the Sudbury community every month to hold space for their hard conversations and their journeys and their, tears and their venting and their all the things that they need. We're so grateful for you. Tiffany said it on Instagram. She said, "We're so lucky to have you as a conversation starter." Thank you so much for stepping in and and working with us. We really, really appreciate you. And thanks for joining me here tonight and telling your story. We did not even look at the questions.
I know.
We just winged it.
We're good.
We're good. I think we got them all. It was great. Thanks so much. And let's do it again sometime. It was great to have you.
I could speak forever about fertility care and the things I'd love to see change. So
same. Well, we're looking for hosts. If you want to host a live sometime, let us know.
I would be happy to help out, actually.
Okay, let's go offline. We can talk. Thanks, Renee. We'll talk soon. Thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. You can new support groups are out. The dates are out. March 23rd is the next one for the main groups. Go check out oasisfsn.com if you want to see all of the groups we're offering now. Groups for childless not by choice, for postpartum from surrogacy, or have groups now for men and for adoption. So go check out our website. You're going to find all the information there. And we will see you in 2 weeks back here. And we'll see you then. Thanks, everybody.